mention a couple things too. One of the things I tell my students all the time that that my books, this book, all the books I've written are among my few successes. Most of what I do fails. John Brown's attack on slavery failed, but it was a great failure because it basically prompted and started the Civil War. One of the things we don't do really well in America is we don't give ourselves room to fail. And we don't give people room to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. All this red state, blue state bull crap, it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, personally. I think it's better to be, I tell my students, I think it's better to be innocent and naive, and to preserve a little bit of your innocence and naivete. Because it's the innocence and naivete that founded this place. And it's that same quality of innocence and naivete that John Brown brought to his fight and struggle against slavery. So, give yourself room to fail. And remember that no committee really changes anything. Change happens and starts right where you are, right where you live. Every time I come to the Jazz Museum, I think of one of my favorite jazz musicians whose name is Hill Green. He's a bassist. He plays with little Jimmy Scott, who I used to tour with. And we were going to Montreal to open for Rosemary Clooney, who was still alive in those days. And it would be something she like was dead and we went to open for her. But she was living and breathing, and she was doing pretty good, and she was very nice lady. But in any case, we were on the plane, and on the plane, I was researching, at the time I was researching The Color of Water and learning about how Jews in the South were treated. You know, in the South, the kind of anti-Semitism that existed in the South was just unbelievable. You can't believe that it just, if I told it to you, you wouldn't believe it was possible. But in any case, I was kind of sensitive to that whole business of anti-Semitism, given the fact that I was learning how my mother had grown up. And right across the aisle from me, there was a little Jewish boy, a little, Orthodox Jewish kid with the braids, the pious they call it. Anyway, the plane couldn't land because it was a thunderstorm, so they made a circle. And while we were circling, they decided to feed everybody, and they tried to feed the little kid. He wouldn't eat, so I told the flight attendant, I said, don't give him anything. I said, he's not going to eat. I said, just give him a glass of water. So she gave him a glass of water. The kid took it, and I was sitting across the aisle from him. I was smiling at him, and this little sucker did one of these. He was like, he was smart. Like his mother told him, don't talk to strangers. And shortly after that, one of the guys in the band made a crack about the kid, about the way he looked, and we got into a terrible argument right there on the plane, and all the way through, we just argued right until we got in line in customs, and we were making such a fuss in customs, but I guess they just pulled all four of us out of line and made us, check this out, search us. So we got late to the venue, and we were warming up at the venue. We were playing in our street clothes because we were so late. Jimmy's band, you had to wear tux and so forth. And the leader, the boss of that band was named Hill Green. He's a black guy. He's a wonderful bass player. I'm sure musicians here in New York know him. Hill was looking at me funny, and I said, you know what, he's probably going to fire me. Because, when we were on the plane, I just jumped into it with the other guy. He didn't really understand all the background of what I didn't tell him I was writing a book about my mother and anti-Semitism. I didn't say anything. I just jumped into it with this guy. And a couple minutes later, while I was standing at the mic warming up, Hill, who was standing right with Trevor's, he had a big bag. He leaned over to me. He said, you know what, James? He said, that joke that they said about that kid, he said, that wasn't funny to me neither. And then he just went back and kept warming up. And I say that to say that it's easy to cry crocodile tears on Martin Luther King's birthday or say, I'm for gay marriage. I'm all for gay people. That's just talk, really. Change happens when in your life, your personal life, you decide that the mortgage ain't that important, and you're going to stand for something right where you are. Stand for something right where you live.
John Brown body lies a mourning in the grave. He has captured Harper's Ferry with his 19 men so brave. He is fighting over Ginger till she trembles through and through. His soul is marching on. Glory, glory.